Ooh, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good, I don't know, something, but wherever you are. My name's Chase Cunningham or Dr. Cunningham or Dr. Zero Trust. We are going to go through the CrowdStrike annual threat review right now because it's the thing, right? Everybody's talking about this on the cyber side of the world. So let's do some, let's call it nonpartisan analysis of the CrowdStrike threat report. And I'm going to try and share, but I'll put the link at the end of this just in case. So we'll see where we get to. Okay, so 2026 Global Threat Report year, and I'm going to put my let's call it Mortal Kombat voice onto this stuff because that's what the vendors really want you to feel is the FUD here's fatality. Right, here we go. So 2026 Global Threat Report, year of the invasive adversary, and of course there's the CrowdStrike. I don't know, like emoji thing there. Anyway, I won't read the forward. You can read that on your own. Blah, blah, blah. There's George Kurtz's signature. Great. Table of contents. Okay. Threat landscape overview, key adversary themes. And then it's about 50 pages worth of stuff. So I'm going to make this succinct for you. Introduction. Throughout 2025, adversaries grew more evasive than ever before as defenses became more sophisticated. Threat actors increasingly exploited the inherent trust. Wow. In supply chain partners, legitimate software, internal systems, and employees to gain initial access and move undetected. This relentless targeting of trusted relationships defines 2025 as the year of the evasive adversary. If only there was a strategy or an intelligent approach to removing trust from inherent systems or inherent trust from systems. That would be revolutionary. If only there was a thing about that somewhere out there. Gosh, someone should come up with something. Adversaries of all motivations exploited AI technology throughout 2025 to accelerate, optimize, and troubleshoot their existing techniques. Demonstrating increased fluency with AI tools, adversaries use the technology for attack types such as social engineering and information operations. Most that integrated AI increased their attack volume compared to 2024. There was an 89% increase in the number of attacks by AI-enabled adversaries year over year. Yikes. Throughout 2025, big game hunting or BGH. What the fuck is that? But okay, fine, we're going to introduce another thing. GH adversaries continued to dominate the e-crime landscape by driving high-impact ransomware operations while tailoring tradecraft to exploit security blind spots and evade detection. That sentence there was written by AI. Highly evasive threat actors such as Scattered Spider and Blockade Spider, okay, sure, challenge defenders by rapidly moving laterally across traditional servers, hypervisors, cloud environments, unmanaged hosts, and SaaS applications, underscoring the growing threat of cross-domain attacks. Okay, great. I'm not going to read through some of that because it just gets with lots of words that don't really mean anything, but yes. Okay, so here's some stuff from CrowdStrike. Another one with their mohawk emoji guy. 24 new adversaries named in 2025, including Belarus adversary Umbral Bison. Cool. 281 total adversaries now tracked by CrowdStrike, 150 active malicious activity clusters and emerging threat groups tracked. Adversary naming conventions. Now, at the end of this, when I get done reviewing this, I'm going to go run you through a little thing that I've built using AI because I'm like everybody else. I'm not a moron. I'm going to use the tools that maps in all the vendor shenanigans and all the naming conventions and actually makes it intelligent. So just bear with me. And here's their adversary naming conventions from CrowdStrike. Bear, Russia, Lynx, Georgia, Belarus, Bison. Okay, so that's kind of like there's actually a little bit of an ontological model here. So, okay, I kind of get it. Spiders, E-crime, Hawk is Syria. So we're using aminals for, those things. Ocelot, Colombia, which that doesn't look like an ocelot. That looks like a bird or an owl, but whatever. Threat landscape overview. Let me zoom in a little bit because my glasses are not that thick. 89% increase in attacks by AI-enabled adversaries. Okay. Average e-crime breakout time dropped to 29 minutes, a 65% increase in speed from 2024, and the fastest breakout time was 27 seconds. 82% of detections in 2025 were malware-free, up from 51% in 2020. 24 new adversaries tracked by CrowdStrike, raising the total to 281. China Nexus activity increased 38% across all sectors, with an 85% increase in logistics. I'm guessing they mean attack logistics. 42% increase in zero-day vulnerabilities exploited prior to public disclosure. Valid account abuse accounted for 35% of cloud incidents and 37% rise in cloud conscious intrusions, with 266% increase by state nexus threat actors. So, yeah, um, that's interesting. The growing dominance of interactive intrusions. Okay. Interactive intrusions continue to expand in 2025 as adversaries increasingly favored direct human driven attacks over traditional malware based attacks. Okay. In these intrusions, threat actors engage directly with victim environments using legitimate credentials, native tools, and administrative functions to move laterally and achieve objectives while blending into normal user behavior. We used to call that hacking or threat actor activity or compromise, but I guess now we've got a cool name for it. So it's interactive intrusions. This approach is particularly challenging to detect and contain with traditional tools, unless you buy CrowdStrike. By operating in ways that closely resemble authorized activity, adversaries reduce reliance on malware and evade many signature-based and preventive controls. Defenders are often forced to identify malicious intent with otherwise legitimate tools, aka living off the land. CrowdStrike observed a sustained rise in interactive intrusion campaigns throughout the year. The technology sector remained the most frequently targeted. Here's some figures. Interactive intrusions by region: Russia 5%, Australia 2, other places less, in the US 55%. So I think we're targeted. There's your top 10 industries targeted by interactive intrusions. Let me say that again the way that they want me to say it. Interactive intrusions. There you go. Breakout time, the race against adversaries. Once adversaries gain initial access, their next objective is to break out, move laterally from the initial foothold to high value assets. The speed of this breakout time determines how fast the defender must respond to reduce the cost. We call that isolation. We used to anyway, but now it's called breakout time. Let me say it the way they want it. Breakout time. Breakout time has been steadily decreasing over the past 5 years, roughly a 70% reduction from 2021 to 2025. Adversaries are getting significantly faster, expanding their foothold after initial access. So, yeah, that's not good either, you could say. And the good thing about people publishing this stuff is public domain information now, so you can pirate the shit out of it and use it for your own stuff, research and whatever. So, thanks. Chatty Spider. Initial access to exfil in 4 minutes. Chatty Spider continued to primarily target law firms in 2025, leveraging voice phishing or vishing campaigns to persuade targeted employees to download and install remote monitoring and management software. After gaining access via the RMM tool, Chatty Spider typically download the file transfer WinSCP and used it in an attempt to exfiltrate data to adversary controlled infrastructure. So there's like three things I read in that chapter paragraph right there that would be easily fixed with basic technology today. The adversary exclusively attempts to exfiltrate data from beachhead hosts and their accessible network shares. Intrusions often lasted less than an hour. There's a timeline. So you've got a timeline here: infection, WinSCP, Google Drive, files and folders, and there you go. Yep. It's kind of hard to put the Mortal Kombat voice to something like Chatty Spider. Let me just see if it sounds right. Chatty Spider. Sure. All right. Fake CAPTCHA campaigns. Sure, those are still a thing. E-crime landscape. Let's see. ECX values, which is the landscape, 2024 levels, more vulnerabilities, rising cryptocurrency prices. Not anymore, but here you go. Spam trap grew 141%. Advanced core access 40%. New CVEs 21. Crypto cost 11%. BGH, big game hunting, 29.6. Yeah, so there you go. So everything's going up, which is not good. Key adversary themes. Adversaries leverage AI to enhance and accelerate operations like every other business in the history of business is doing right now because they're not stupid. Top 10 AI model mentions. Let's see. Throughout 2025, DeepSeek, Grok, ChatGPT, Gemini. So it looks like that's what they've been using to basically do all their stuff. ChatGPT is definitely a favorite tool. Perplexity is basically not even in there, which I honestly think Perplexity is probably a better tool than the rest of them. Let's see. Threats from AI. Resource development. Famous Kalima. Okay. Uses Gen AI to generate fake personas. Okay. Punk Spider executes AI generated scripts. Fancy Bear uses Lame Hug malware. And Renaissance Spider uses Gen AI to translate click fix lures. And both of those have gone up quite substantially. All of them actually 109%, 134. 88 and 16. So, yes, there you go. Case highlight fancy bear use of LLM enabled malware. So, there's recon, lame hug, which is a weird thing, but okay, intelligence collection. Make a list of commands to copy recursively different Office and PDF documents and user documents downloads, return like command. So, that's the prompt. Make a list of commands to create folder, and then that's the prompt there. And Fancy Bear did it. So this basically just shows like this is how hard it is to do, hacking with AI stuff. Threats to AI systems. Let's see, direct exploitation of vulnerabilities related to AI platforms and tools. Sure. Server ransomware operators exploited CVE 2025-3248 against Langflow AI to deploy ransomware and distribute hundreds of ransom notes. So that's why I say that there's no more days of us getting shitty Russian emails with bad grammar in them. But there you go. And using AI to bypass security controls by mimicking trusted AI. Threat actors deployed a malicious clone of a legitimate MCP server that forwarded emails to attacker controlled addresses. Brilliant. It was a matter of time. There you have it. Outlook. Threat actors, not like Microsoft Outlook, but like the Outlook. So threat actors of all sophistication levels will almost certainly continue to use AI to support social engineering, information operations, and technical operations. Yes. Less sophisticated threat actors currently leverage AI to enhance operations in ways otherwise prevented by their limited technical understanding, aka they're getting smarter because they have access to these tools because they're generic. However, while this use may enable more complex attacks, these actors often make operational errors when implementing AI outputs due to their technical limitations and inability to recognize errors in those outputs, aka if they're shitty coders and they're trying to use AI systems for malware generation, whatever else, they're probably going to fuck it up and get in trouble. There's your breakdown of that one. Ransomware adversaries expand cross-domain tradecraft. The evolving ransomware threat. Modern enterprise networks are inherently complex, containing edge devices, identity solutions, endpoints, cloud environments, and virtualization infrastructure. This complexity is heightened by the presence of unmanaged assets in organizations' networks. These often include network infrastructure, VPNs, blah, blah, blah. And cross-domain intrusions, which like literally right there, cross-domain intrusions. How possibly could we fix a cross-domain intrusion? Could you maybe apply something like segmentation or micro-segmentation or permissioning? Yeah. Sophisticated big game hunter adversaries such as Blockade Spider, Punk Spider, and Scattered Spider skillfully move among these services to evade detection. These threat actors consistently reach their objectives by targeting unmanaged or poorly secured assets in victim environments. That's hacking 101. The combination of three aspects, unmanaged systems, remote file encryption, and cross-domain operations allows big game hunter adversaries to successfully deploy ransomware and exfiltrate data from victim organizations. Okay, yes, but only if there was a way to remove those things from being the problem that they are. Gosh, how could you ever do that? Scattered Spider, abuse of unmanaged systems. Here's a graphic. So, Scattered Spider gains access to VMware Center, probably by phishing someone. Number two, they create a new VM using downloaded ISO. Then they identify and shut down the VM, detach their VMDK, and then that drive is going to move to unmanaged and then copies everything over. Yeah, so typical legacy, you could even call it. In one mid 2025 incident, the adversary performed this technique within 3 hours of gaining initial access. During the 3 hour period, they entered with only one managed endpoint, so that's not good for that organization. It shows how they did their dump, and it goes from 0 to 3 hours pretty quick. Okay. The most active big game hunter adversary in 2025 was Punk Spider. This adversary conducted 198 intrusions observed across CrowdStrike telemetry, a 134% increase year over year. Blockade Spider, cross-domain operations, edge devices, gain access via unmanaged, unpatched edge devices, including firewalls and VPNs, old stuff. Identity, hijack an AD agent, modifies intra, and then SSO. Yep. Cloud registers identity stuff, exfiltrates data, and creates mail forwarding so that it goes from there to O365 to whatever, and virtualization, Git persistence, VMware's vCenter using Orbit Linux backdoor. Unmanaged VMs are a problem, and then encrypts the stuff. There's your ransomware. So nothing crazy there. I'll skip some of the stuff around the China rapid deployment weaponization because it's nothing different from everything else that's in this report. But there's a couple good graphics here, CVEs and how they're used 3 days, 6 days, 2 days. Point being, it's pretty fucking quick for them to get through these systems and do bad things. Here's an interesting note. Adversaries prefer edge devices as strategic access points. China Nexus adversaries consistently targeted VPN appliances. If only there was a way to get past VPN, like a like a ZTNA thing or something. Anyway, migrate off VPN. Just saying, good thing. Firewalls, gateways, and other perimeter devices through 2025, reflecting a strategic preference for these systems as initial access vectors. Warp Panda's June 2025, August 2025 operations targeted US based legal technology manufacturing entities by exploiting VPN appliances through CVE 2024 21887. An exploit chain that bypasses authentication and enables remote code execution. Yeah, so there you go. Targeting priorities align with strategic intelligence requirements, aka if you're a nation state, you do what the fuck the nation state says to you. Ta-da! There you go. Pretty simple. I could have saved CrowdStrike a lot of money by printing that stuff. Compromised software providers. Adversaries continued compromising software providers to enable supply chain attacks through 2025, typically in highly targeted operations with significant impacts, depending on their initial access vector and lateral movement abilities. Threat actors can leverage these operations for wide-ranging follow-on options. Such options include modifying customer-facing SaaS, injecting malicious code, altering software update mechanisms to deliver alternate payloads, and accessing continuous integration and continuous delivery, or CI/CD. So pressure Kalima, I swear to God, these names are something else. I can't wait to show the mapping I put together here. So pressure Kalima, okay. Number one, compromises safe wallet. Two, exfiltrates creds. Okay, deploys code. Four, performs transfer. And then five, funds redirected. So that's how they stole crypto stuff. There you have it. And just to show you how bad that gets, here's a little tidbit that they have. So through the initially affected package in that software supply chain, it was actually downloaded more than 2 million times by mid-September 2025. This is Shai Halud, which is the giant worm from Dune. Self-propagation capability likely pose infection risk to many more users as the attack progressed. The point I'm making there is that basically worming be worming, and people download stuff. So yeah, and then now we start getting into the pitch of like buying CrowdStrike. So detecting anomalous SaaS activity with CrowdStrike Falcon Shield. I'm not going to read that. You can read that on your own. Uh, adversary ex- Adversary objective shape 0-day exploit section. There's stuff there. I'm trying to get to like interesting things here because a lot of it is just kind of repeated the same stuff with slightly different words. Graceful Spider's opportunistic use of 0-day vulnerabilities. Okay. E-crime adversary Graceful Spider differentiates themselves from other BGH, big game hunting, adversaries by repeatedly exploiting 0-day vulnerabilities. Since late 2020, Graceful Spider has primarily exploited Internet Exposed network assets with multiple 0-day vulnerabilities. Whether Graceful Spider develops or merely acquires those 0-day exploits remains unclear. Beginning as early as August 2025, Graceful Spider conducted data exfiltration operations by exploiting a novel 0-day, which was CVE 2025-61882. This campaign diverges from Graceful Spider's historical pattern of targeting file transfer applications. The tactical shift remains consistent with the adversary's overarching tech strategy, targeting internet exposed enterprise level web applications to achieve initial access and ultimately exfiltrate data. This strategy will almost certainly drive Graceful Spider's choice of exploit targets in the future. There you have it. So let's see. CVEs, Acelion, Go Anywhere, Sysaid, Lexicom, and eBusiness Suite. All those were things that they targeted. Adversaries subvert trust in cloud platforms and services. Throughout 2025, both targeted intrusion adversaries and e-crime adversaries involved their cloud targeting techniques, successfully subverting the implicit trust users place in cloud entities and technologies to achieve persistence, lateral movement, and data exfiltration. If only we could remove trust from systems. God, I'm just, I'm at a loss. Like my brain collapses on itself, starting to think of how we could possibly strategically look at removing trust from systems. I don't know. I don't know. CrowdStrike Intelligence assesses that multiple target intrusion threat actors, the majority of whom conduct China or Russia nexus operations, significantly increase their investment in cloud targeting. Yeah, so that's not good. Here's the global threat report, and it's got a bunch of pandas and bears and fucking stuff on it, and tells you like trust layer, trust mechanism, impact radius. This is great. Actually, this is like super useful graphics. So thank you very much, CrowdStrike, because I will be pirating and pillaging this. Thanks. So organization level exploit B2B, right? And then trust mechanism exploited partner tenant connections with intra ID and impact radius, multiple downstream organizations per compromised provider. And then you got scattered spider and blockade spider, and then basically like tenant identity level trust, exploiting identity synchronization and federation. What's the trust mechanism exploited? Hybrid identity sync services, federation trust, third party IAM, password hash, and then token signing. And then what's the impact radius? It's very high. Enterprise wide access, admin privilege, persistent access. So this, like, CrowdStrike folks, if you listen to this, like, you could have just done this for all of them. It would have been super useful, just to be perfectly frank, because this is actually good. See, I'm a nice fella. I can say good things about folks too when they do good things. Conclusion: as 2026 begins, the cybersecurity threat landscape grows increasingly sophisticated. I think it's more AI sophisticated than really sophisticated, if you will. Demanding that organizations in all sectors and geographies strengthen and adapt their defenses as adversaries become more evasive, agile, and innovative. Understanding their motivations and anticipating their actions is critical to an effective defense. Threat actors of all skill levels will continue adopting AI for social engineering, information operations, and technical activity. Less sophisticated threat actors will use AI to offset limited expertise, enabling more complex attacks, but often introducing errors to poor implementation and limited ability to validate output. More advanced threat actors will increasingly leverage AI for malware development, social engineering, and post-exploitation activities, accelerating attack speed, scale, and effectiveness. With greater resource and maturity, these threat actors are positioned to operationalize agentic AI for minimally supervised or autonomous operations, and that's bad. Yeah. All right. So recommendations: one, secure AI to reduce emerging business and operational risk. Yes. Water wet, fire hot. Two, treat identity and SaaS as primary attack services, like we've been saying for fucking years. Three, eliminate cross-domain blind spots. Yeah, that's visibility. We've been talking about that for quite a while there. And we've also talked about segmentation isolation. Okay. Secure the software supply chain and developer workflows. Totally should do it. Yes, it's a good thing. However, our hardware comes from China. So there's backdoors that get put in there at the hardware level. So secure your software as best you can, but just be aware, accept that reality. This stuff is compromised. Prioritize edge device and perimeter patching and monitoring. Oh gosh, don't suck at patching. If only that had been said to people a billion times over. Prioritize proactive threat intelligence hunting. Yeah, be proactive. I don't know that I necessarily agree with the hunting stuff because, other than, I mean, a government agency, what are you going to do when you find them? You should really just be taking care of yourself. But hunt, if you want to call it hunting, great, call it that. Strengthen human resilience against social engineering and rapid intrusion. No, it's a fucking waste of time. Stop trying to make people not be people. It's a waste. Just fix the people with technology. There you go. And then finally, on page 50, which I will give CrowdStrike some kudos here. They didn't put the pitch until page 50, so good for you guys. CrowdStrike Falcon, AI cloud native, lightweight, Charlotte AI, Falcon Fusion, Enterprise Graph stuff, Foundry, Marketplace, blah, 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 blah stuff. Okay, cool. So that's a whole lot of things from that CrowdStrike report. Cool, great. Now, I told y'all that I was going to sort of run you through a little thing that I put together because I got sick and tired of trying to figure out which group did this to which vendor did that to which blah, blah did this thing. So I actually went off and did it, and I used Perplexity because it's pretty cool to do the research for me and help me correlate this. Now, let me kind of break it down, and I'll provide this to somebody if they want it. So underlying ecosystem, SVR APT 29. Microsoft calls them Midnight Blizzard. CrowdStrike calls them Cozy Bear. Mandiant calls them APT 29. Everyone else calls them Blue Bravo, Cloaked Ursa, Iron Hemlock, or the Dukes. Yes. And I literally put a category here that says notes on weirdness. Same underlying SVR cluster has at least 6 to 8 different brands. Even Microsoft had to rename Nobelium Midnight Blizzard, then publish a Rosetta Stone to keep its own aliases straight. So that's how fucked up this thing is. Russia, APT 28. They're typically known in the government space, GRU APT 28. Microsoft calls them Forest Blizzard, and they used to call them Strontium, excuse me. CrowdStrike calls them Fancy Bear. Mandiant calls them APT 28. Other vendors call them Sophacy, Sednet, Czar Team, Pawnstorm. Yeah. Notes on weirdness. Security Week notes at least a dozen other names for APT 28. Same infrastructure, same TBTs, but different vendor names for everything else. Now let's look at like the DPRK. So Lazarus Group, DPRK, right? Microsoft calls them Zinc or Citrine Sleet or Diamond Sleet or Moonstone or Sleet or Storm 1789. CrowdStrike calls them Labyrinth, Kalima, or excuse me, Labyrinth Kalima, which is Lazarus umbrella, plus other Kalima prefix subgroups. Mandiant calls them UNC 1720, UNC 4736, Citrine Sleet, and then other vendors call them, gosh, this is crazy, APT-C26, APT-Q1, Sector A01, TA404, Voidal Mugi, Hidden Cobra, Guardians of Peace, and Black Artemis. Here's notes on weirdness. The Lazarus Day table shows over 30 aliases for closely related DPRK activity. Some rows explicitly map one vendor subgroup, e.g. Moonstone Sleet, to another vendor's different subgroup, e.g. Diamond Sleet, or umbrella name, Lazarus, which means the same operations move back and forth between parent groups and child groups, aka confusing as fuck. And one more, just to really drive the point home. So China, APT-41, underlying stuff, APT-41, WinT, China Nexus. Microsoft calls it Bronze Brilliant Brushed, Bronze Atlas, and Typhoon names. CrowdStrike calls it Panda Jackal style names, focus, not one label for the whole APT-41 universe. Mandiant calls it APT-41, which is the core label. And then other vendors call it Wicked Panda, Earth Baku, WinT, Bronze Atlas. Notes on weirdness. A different research points out APT-41 is simultaneously called APT-41, Bronze Atlas, Earth Baku, Wicked Panda, WinT, and others, again, for essentially the same long-lived ecosystem, depending on which report you read. So that's how that shit plays out. And like I say, I'm a researcher. I spend all day, every day looking at this space, trying to figure out which way's up on it. And I can't keep heads or tails of it. So how are we expecting everyone else that actually has a life and isn't a loser like me to try and crawl through this stuff and understand which things go where? It's a colossal clusterfuck. I would suggest that the vendors that are doing all this stuff know this, and they're intentionally, maybe not maliciously, but intentionally, because it's good for their brand, coming up with these cool names for things because it looks cool and they know that they can give away fucking swag at RSA and these, I don't know, emoji type character shits and whatever else. It's not helping anyone though. Like I had to run a perplexity model to go off and figure out what the hell these things actually were. And there's more. I've got a whole bunch of them here. So if you wanted, let me know and I'll put it together. I might even put together like a node link graph to show people just how ridiculous this is. But let's understand that that's not helpful. Now, from someone that used to work in intelligence, specifically cyber intelligence myself, it was very difficult to have an understanding of who was doing what, where it was going on, the use cases, the TTPs, all those other things. And we had real specific clarity on who did what where for a whole bunch of different things. Here in the public domain, it's just Katie bar the door and you hope you can figure the shit out. It is not good for anyone. So maybe if any of those vendors are out there listening, maybe we can come together. Maybe we can have, like, since we're supposed to have intelligence sharing and operational capabilities and those types of things and InfraGard and all these other kumbaya, hold your hands and fucking talk about cyber things. Maybe we come up with just one naming convention, one ontological model that we can apply to all the vendors, or excuse me, all of the bad guys in this space, so people could actually understand who does what where. And we should also go to new vendors that are going to start pushing stuff in here and say, if it's this, you call it that. Just a thought, because that's where you actually begin to understand what the fuck is actually taking place. So here's my 2 cents. CrowdStrike did good research. I like a lot of the stuff that they put out here, especially the trust things, because trust is a problem. I've been saying that. But there's not a whole lot of specific clarity on where these things go from here, other than don't suck at the stuff we've been telling you not to suck at for the last X number of years. And oh, by the way, AI just makes things quicker, better, faster, or quicker, worse, worser. I don't know. Okay, anyway, there's the breakdown. See you at RSA coming up soon. And if you need a voiceover actor, perhaps, I've got the Mortal Kombat voice, so let me know. Catch you on the flip side.